My fellow travelers, you're back in the LZ, and it's so good to see you again. With No Man's Sky Beyond right around the corner, I can feel it. I have certainly enjoyed this series, this playlist of sort of criticizing No Man's Sky in a good faith manner for the betterment of the game and the community and the future of No Man's Sky and Hello Games, but I'm not seeing a lot of discussion about cross-platform play for No Man's Sky. So please, I'll ask you to stay to the end of the video while I make a well-rounded case for No Man's Sky crossplay on all the various platforms that it's currently launched on and possibly about to launch to. We'll talk about the possibilities of crossplay between Xbox, PS4, and PC. We'll go over the benefits of crossplay on those platforms. We'll talk about the risks that come along with cross-platform play, and we'll talk about why this matters. No Man's Sky and cross-platform play is not really a topic that we should just sort of shrug off. This could be groundbreaking for the game, and I will spend this video highlighting why that is. Earlier, I asked for your tweet responses about crossplay and asked, what are your feelings about cross-platform play for No Man's Sky to play between all of the various platforms that it's available on, and I'm going to show your tweet responses here in the video now. So let's get to it. Let's talk about the possibilities of crossplay. So crossplay is a relatively new thing in the video game industry. It's been kind of a hot topic seemingly because companies like Sony, or really before maybe a year or so ago, it really wasn't something that many of the console manufacturers in all of their hubris were willing to do. But now that a lot of the gaming platforms are getting in on crossplay, it became kind of a struggle between gamers and particularly Sony in a policy position stance. There was quite a bit of disagreement between the big corporations on whether this should be a thing. But once we got that all out of the way, major games have already implemented this overwhelmingly demanded feature by the player. It's not common that you find somebody that doesn't support a cross-play functionality between games. We'll talk about that in the risks section of the video, though. Games like Fortnite, Dauntless, Rocket League, and even freaking Call of Duty have already pioneered this new effort. This could easily pave the way for us and set the precedent for Hello Games to just jump in. And while I'm not really a specialist, I'm not a developer, I don't know this technology, many developers, to my surprise, have come out about how easy cross-platform is to implement in their game. And even though Sony with the PlayStation 4 put up a lot of pushback on whether cross-play should even exist in the industry, you know, because apparently they were like the best platform to play or something like that, which, okay, fine, whatever, but like, get over yourself. Smaller developers have told us and proved to us that cross-platform play is super easy to do. And I've got some examples for you here. First off, Wargroove and Starbound developers Chucklefish stated that enabling crossplay across PS4 and Xbox is, quote, as easy as flipping a switch. Now, when we talk about small development studios, Chucklefish is one of the smallest around. But saying that it is that easy kind of blew me away, and I kind of didn't believe it at first. And then more evidence was produced by the Fortnite developers Epic Games accidentally enabling it a whole year before Sony even agreed to allow developers to implement crossplay. They flipped the switch by accident. So this evidence just goes to show that this was really just merely a thing of politics between big console developers. It was all a battle of hubris. It was all just nah, I don't want to do that because I would really rather just have people just play on my platform. And I think that just goes to show that really sometimes it's just a really good idea to listen to the overwhelming majority of the players that want this kind of thing. And in a console industry where console wars happen and people sort of begrudgingly or sort of blindly defend their console of choice, it's not very often that you see these camps sort of overwhelmingly agree and find a middle ground on hot topics like this. So it's super cool that Nintendo and Phil Spencer and Microsoft have stepped up to the plate to make something so awesome like this happen. And it was really honestly cool for them to drag Sony across the finish line for it. So now that we got the possibilities out of the way and we know that it could potentially and more than likely be easy for Hello Games to implement, let's talk about the benefits of crossplay. First things first, it'll bring an already sizable community together for No Man's Sky Online, whatever the hell that is. This game's community is already tight-knit and mostly positive, surprisingly. Took us a little bit of time to get there, I suppose, but it would do well in unifying the platforms that would help strengthen that bond even further. And if we look at something like the community events that they had back when No Man's Sky Next launched, where a sort of singular platform would sort of work within its own platform infrastructure to sort of accomplish these goals collectively. Just imagine these community events where the entire collective of the platforms that No Man's Sky is available on would work together to collectively accomplish a singular goal. This is just one of those items that Hello Games could leverage to bring unity to these platforms, as if the No Man's Sky community didn't already have that unity, but would just be another example to use industry-wide why this is so beneficial for the industry as a whole. So now that we talked about the benefits, let's talk about some potential risks that would come with No Man's Sky cross-platform play. The first and the most obvious risk would be cross-platform play with the PC platform, particularly regarding mods. Matter of fact, the very footage that you're looking at right now is pretty heavily modded. We're even going as far as manipulating the terrain generation and things like that. So that really wouldn't jive well when you're trying to have a cross-platform environment, because things would probably get interestingly glitchy pretty quick. And it would cause some pretty big problems with playing with gamers on a closed platform like the consoles, the Xbox, and the PS4. So more than likely, Hello Games would probably have to limit mods on their PC platform pretty heavily, which I think they could probably do. If No Man's Sky is a separate mode, or No Man's Sky Online is a separate mode, it's more than likely that No Man's Sky will just not allow you to play with cross-platform if you're using mods, which is fine, I guess, right? It's good to have a nice, balanced, equal, and fair environment if you're having one shared universe for all of these No Man's Sky Online players. And of course, a second risk is the Xbox does not currently have a VR capability, at least not yet. So it could be a tad bit awkward for Xbox players to see PC and PS4 players running around performing hilarious actions with their motion controls that the Xbox players can't use. Which, really is not a big deal, but it just seems like I just hate to see the Xbox players go without one of the major 3 components that will eventually compile into the Beyond update. And then lastly, back to the PC platform, if No Man's Sky Online includes some kind of PvP component, which I doubt that it will, the regular concern of controller players versus keyboard and mouse users could probably be a balance issue. I know if I'm playing something like a competitive shooter like Siege or Call of Duty, I just don't feel good about playing on console against PC players. And PC players, you know exactly why that's a valid concern. I know exactly why that's a valid concern, because let's just be honest, mouse and keyboard is just inherently more fluid and accurate to use. So I'm not saying that that'll probably be an immediate concern, but if they have some kind of PvP component, that could probably play into maybe creating an issue. And then lastly, why does this matter? You see, our community deserves to share this universe together, regardless of the platform that we're on. If it's one thing that I generally do not hear in this community, it's this sort of infighting about the platform that we're playing on. As a matter of fact, many of the No Man's Sky players that I know, and like the No Man's Sky Reddit, was so positive about the Xbox launch. This community was super open arms to these new players that were about to join. And I'm gonna be honest, this is not something that you commonly see often. And honestly, console wars should be a thing of the past. The future is bringing these communities together in a positive way, in spite of what hardware you own. And aside from crossplay, even heavy hitters like Bungie and Destiny 2 are experimenting with really cool things like cross-platform saves, which will be really excellent for No Man's Sky. I have the PS4 version and the PC version of No Man's Sky. You're looking at the PC version now, like I mentioned earlier, and I would just like to be able to move my save file between those two platforms right now for obvious reasons, right? Maybe I want to be able to capture footage and show you what my save is like on the PC version, but I primarily play on the PS4. I mainly like to capture footage on my PC because, let's just be honest, the frame rate's more stable, the graphics options are better. There's a lot of good reasons why even things like cross saves would be a great idea and why we should just do that. Is cross-play and cross-save something that you could get down with in No Man's Sky? Is that important to you? And if it is, I would recommend sending this to Hello Games and Sean Murray on Twitter. Let them know that this is a thing that we as a community would love to have. And if this video was important to your No Man's Sky viewing experience, please do like, subscribe, and click the bell if you'd like to be here in the future. Much more Beyond conversation to be had before the big update drops. And of course, you can look forward to hanging out here in the future when No Man's Sky Beyond does launch. We'll be having all kinds of coverage and live streams and things like that. And just like Skylifine did, if you'd like a shout out, please do consider joining the LZ by clicking the join button and get a shout out on every new video that comes up. So with that said, E3 week is coming up, folks. That was one of the times that maybe you could expect to see Sean Murray and Hello Games show up with the final act of what Beyond whatever that is. So be here for that and much more, and I'll see you later.